Hello, and welcome to the 12th and final episode of the 2021 True Dollar web series. As you may know by now, this year, Texas Trust has presented a monthly webinar on Facebook Live every second Tuesday of the month to help our community and members manage their finances better during the unconventional times we are living in. My name is Washima Huck. I am a business and community engagement partner for Texas Trust, and I will be your moderator today. Like always, you are welcome to engage with us by leaving comments or questions during the live session. We will be sure to answer as many questions as we can in the allotted time or get back to you one-on-one. Next slide, please. Go back one slide. Thank you. Millions of people become a victim of identity theft every year. Our presenter has years of experience helping individuals who have become a victim of identity theft. And he is here today to share a few tips to prevent your identity from being stolen, as well as ways to help you report and restore a stolen identity. Next slide. But first, we at Texas Trust would like to highlight some resources accessible to our communities. So every month, we have highlighted a nonprofit organization located in one of our Texas Trust towns. December Spotlight nonprofit organization is Irving Cares. Just to share a little bit about Irving Cares, for over 65 years, Irving Cares has provided a lifeline to families experiencing a crisis. Irving Cares meets the needs of the families through two programs. First is their emergency assistance program, which includes rent, food, utility payment, and transportation. And the second one is called Invest in Yourself, which provides employment services, educational assistance, financial literacy, and personal coaching. Their goal is to help families reach self-sufficiency and leave poverty behind. You can get more information or get in contact with them by visiting irvingcares.org. We thank Irving Cares for the services they are providing to our community. Next slide. And now a little bit about Texas Trust. Our mission at Texas Trust is to build brighter financial futures, and we have been helping people live brighter since 1936. We are a not-for-profit organization, which means we invest profit back into the credit union to help our members and communities by offering higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and through community engagement. We are a full-service financial institution with about 20 locations in Texas. For more information, please visit us at texastrustcu.org. And now I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Mr. Todd Jones. Todd Jones is our presenter today. Todd has been with Econocheck for 14 years. He works with over 100 institutions nationwide, implementing various identity theft solution programs. Todd, we're very excited to have you present today. I'm going to turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for allowing me to speak with you today on identity theft. Identity theft is pretty tricky, and a lot of people don't know, how a criminal or somebody obtains their identity. I think a lot of people think that there's skimming devices on a gas pump, or it happens when you go to a gas station or a restaurant. Somebody steals your credit card. But a lot of identity theft happens from data breaches. And our information has been stolen so many times. We just really aren't aware of it, and we become immune to it. So one of the things that I like to show is this data breach site. It shows all these different companies that have been breached and how many companies have been hacked. And a lot of times there's other countries hacking into our companies and obtaining our information and stealing it, and then using it to create an identity, or using our identity to open up credit cards, to open up phones in our name, medical fraud, and I'll go through the different types of fraud that's out there in identity theft. But just look at this illustration here of all the different companies that have been breached. And keep in mind, there's only 331 million Americans. So if you look at Facebook here, Facebook has been breached many times. Back in 2019, there's 420 million records. If you speed it up a little bit to today's date, they've been hacked again, and it's 533 million records, and that's worldwide. You can see Microsoft, 250 million records, Marriott, Apollo, Capital One, 100 million records, Twitter, 333 million records, and the companies are just endless. So when you hear of a company that's been breached on the news, I think we're kind of immune to it, and we really just don't pay attention to it too much. However, an identity theft or a breach that had occurred back in 2016 or 2017 may show up today. And these criminals have our information and they keep it stored until 5 years, 10 years later, when they could use that information, and then you have an issue, or then you have a problem. So let's just look into some of these companies that have been breached and what actually happened behind it. I have this correct. All right, so the Facebook breach, like I said, is 533 million records. That was actually in March of this year. So what actually was stolen? Well, there was phone numbers, full names, location, email address, biographical information on 533 million users from 106 different companies or countries. Twitter, back in May of 2018, 330 million records was lost. They said it was due to a glitch, some passwords to be stored in readable text that was visible on Twitter's internal system. So you could see that there's a lot of information that these different criminals have on us that they could use at any time. Equifax, back in September, that was a huge data breach where it was nationwide, and it caused a lot of media attention. Where you could see here is a breach of the firm's database exposed the names, social security numbers, birth date, addresses, driver's license, credit card information across the US, the UK, and Canada. Capital One, I don't know if too many people were familiar with the Capital One breach, but this was back in July of 2019 where 100 million records were stolen. This was a massive data breach, included personal information from credit card applications over a 14-year period. It was a former Amazon employee, Paige Thompson, awaits trial for this fraud. The bottom line is there are people out there that want to steal our information and use it to create an identity theft, where they're going to use our personal information to open up credit cards, they're going to open up phones, utilities, etc. And what a lot of people do, and some of these criminals, what they'll do is they'll obtain your credit card information. They'll go to a library. They're very familiar with neighborhoods where somebody moved out of the house and there's a vacant house. Maybe the house is up for sale. It's a vacant house. The homeowner had moved out. What these criminals will do, they'll go to the library, take your credit card information and shop online, send those packages to that vacant house. And when UPS or FedEx drops off that package, they go steal the package, and then you're left with an identity theft where you're going to have to call the credit card company or the bank to dispute a charge that wasn't you. And then how did these people obtain your information? Really, you just don't know. It could be a transaction that you made at a store or one of these data breaches that happened years ago. So let's look at the scope of the identity theft. There are 7 different types of identity theft. There's Social Security, financial, medical, criminal, tax fraud, child fraud, and synthetic. I think we're familiar with the 6, the Social Security, financial, medical, criminal, tax, and child, but not too familiar with synthetic. And what synthetic fraud does is really takes multiple pieces of information to create an individual. So it could be multiple Social Security numbers, a real Social Security number, maybe a fictitious name, where they're creating an identity that affects multiple people. So let's look at financial identity theft. Financial identity theft is when someone uses another person's identity or information to obtain credit, goods, services, or benefits. This is the most common form of identity theft. So financial identity theft is the most popular. We get dispute credit cards and debit card fraud all the time. and the financial institution really has to incur that cost of the fraud for transactions you didn't make. And again, how did they get your information? We really don't know. And I think a lot of it goes back to the breaches. There's just been so many different companies that have been hacked and breached where our information is just out there. So it's not a matter of if identity theft is going to happen to you, it's when it's going to happen to you. Social Security identity theft. This is identity thieves obtain your Social Security number. They could use it to apply for credit cards and loans and not pay outstanding balances. And then fraudsters can use the number to receive medical, disability, and other benefits. I've seen some Social Security identity theft where somebody's opened up a utility in your name, and the way they do it, when you apply for power or a phone, back in the day, a landline phone, the company would ask for your Social Security number. And then you have the opportunity to pay a deposit if you don't want to do a credit check. So what these thieves will do is they'll pay the deposit. Your Social Security number is in their system. And then when you fail to pay the bill, or the fraudster fails to pay the bill, this goes on your credit report. So you're going to have a fraud show up on your credit report where somebody has taken your Social Security number and opened a utility in your name where the Social Security number stays on record. And when they fail to pay the bill, that bill ends up on your credit report, and now you have a mess to clean up. Medical identity theft. In medical identity theft, someone poses as another person to obtain free medical care. This actually could cause some major issues with medical identity theft. Think of somebody using your information and create a medical record where a fraudster uses your identity and creates a medical identity. So their blood type could actually end up on your record. And if you need a blood transfusion or any type of care, maybe you're allergic to something, there could be a medical fraud that's out there where there's inaccurate information about the individual. And the fraudster had manipulated the file so they could get services. And then in turn, it could hurt you because your medical chart is not accurate. You know, like I said, it could be possibly the fraudster's blood type or medicines that you're allergic to is no longer on the file. So medical identity theft can actually harm you physically. Synthetic identity theft, and this is what I was saying, this is multiple records used to create an identity. And a synthetic identity theft is a type of fraud in which a criminal combines real stolen information and fake information to create a new identity, which is used to open fraudulent accounts and make fraudulent purchases. Synthetic identity theft allows the criminal to steal money from a credit card or companies, lenders who extend credit-based or on a fake identity. And this could very well be used in a scenario to where I said somebody went to the library, purchased something in your name, created a profile, and then had whatever they had purchased sent to a vacant house where UPS or FedEx then drops off that package, and the fraudster will then pick up that package. Child identity theft. Child identity theft is when someone uses a child's identity for various forms of personal gain. This is common as children typically do not have information associated with them that could pose obstacles for the perpetrator. The fraudster may use the child's name and Social Security number to obtain a residence, find employment, obtain loans, or avoid arrest on outstanding warrants. Often the victim is a family member, the child of a friend, or someone close to the perpetrator. Some people even steal the personal information of deceased loved ones. I've seen this happen firsthand. Years ago, I used to work for AT&T, and when I would create a record for somebody, I would find child identity theft. And what they would do is similar to that scenario that I gave on the Social Security. They would use a child's Social Security number and open up a utility in their name. They would give, and it's usually a relative, maybe the mother or father cannot obtain power or get a cell phone, so they use their child's Social Security number and paid a deposit. If the company were to run a credit check, they would find out that, this is not somebody 18 years or older. So they paid a deposit for the child, use the child's Social Security number. And when that child turns 18 and applies for their first credit card or auto loan, they found out when they were 6 that they've been a victim of identity theft. And it's usually mom or dad or a family member opened up the account in their name, which is awful. And now they have a mess to clean up. And you could imagine, and I've seen this where a kid is I've seen this actually as one of my clients down in Houston, where the child actually went to open up a loan to get a car, and they were all excited. And they went to the dealership, and the dealer told them that they had all of these different balances on their credit file. It turns out it was the mother had opened up 50 credit cards in the child's name and had power and a cell phone. So now this child has this huge mess to clean up before they could actually get the car. So child identity theft is big, and it's usually a family member, or like it says, it's somebody that that child knows, where they opened up an account in that child's name, and the child really doesn't know about it until they're of age to have a credit card or any type of relationship that they could get, which is very sad. Tax identity theft is tax identity theft occurs when somebody uses your personal information, including your social security number, to file a bogus state or federal tax return in your name and collect a refund. I've seen this happen many times, where somebody will use another person's tax information and file the taxes and get their refund before the legitimate person should actually get it. And this was happening a lot 2 or 3 years ago, where tax fraud was really huge, and the IRS started adding PIN numbers for refunds. But this was going on for a while, where these criminals were getting your tax refund before you did. Criminal identity theft is when the criminal poses as another person during an arrest to avoid a summons, prevent the discovery of a warrant issued for their real name, or avoid an arrest or a conviction record. And I'm sure you've seen this on criminal shows, where somebody gets arrested and they give a fictitious name. It's not really them. And it turns out there could be a warrant out for the legitimate person. And they could use a fake driver's license of somebody, and just to try to escape a warrant. And then that person whose driver's license or identity is real, a warrant's issued for them. And this has happened before, where somebody's been pulled over just for speeding, and they found out they had a warrant out for their arrest. It wasn't really them that did it. Somebody else was an imposter. This actually happened to my father, believe it or not, where somebody showed up at my dad's house with a car, and it was a VIN number of my dad's vehicle that was stolen and placed on a stolen car. So it was a stolen VIN number placed on a stolen car, and when they pulled over the car, it was registered in my dad's name. Well, it wasn't my dad's car, it was a stolen car, so the police showed up to my dad's house. So I was surprised that he got when the police show up and talking to him about a stolen car, and these thieves did it, and actually went back to the dealership to where these guys that were working at the dealership were stealing VIN numbers and selling them and placing them on stolen cars. So the police showed up at my house asking my dad about a stolen car that he had really know nothing about, which could have got my dad in trouble, but my dad disputed it. So this stuff happens all the time, and there's fraudsters out there that are trying to steal our information and use it for their gain. And unfortunately, when it happens to us, we have a mess to clean up. And really, it's what do we do when we are victims of identity theft? So let's get into the recovery process. So identity theft resolution. If you were to try to resolve your identity and make it whole on your own, on average, this could take 100 to 200 hours over 6 months. You really should have some sort of resolution benefit, whether you're getting it at one of your financial institutions, to have some sort of identity theft protection is big, because you want a resolution specialist to act on your behalf. They're the experts. They know how to resolve your identity. If you were to do this on your own, a lot of people don't know where to start. It does take a lot of hours. And you could see on average 100 to 200 hours in over 6 months is a long time. So to have an advocate out there working on your behalf is big. So I believe most people should have some sort of identity theft coverage in place. A lot of people don't. If I were to ask somebody if they have cell phone insurance or if they have identity theft coverage, most people will say that they have cell phone insurance and not identity theft coverage. It's because we care more about our cell phones than our identity. It's true. I've asked that question many times, and most people have cell phone insurance, but not identity theft coverage. And we should all have identity theft coverage because we all are victims of fraud in some way. It just may not have shown up today or yesterday, but there's a good chance it's going to show up in the future, and to have somebody work on your behalf to resolve your identity fraud is big. So some of the steps to take when you are a victim of identity theft, these are the resolution steps. You need to request a fraud alert. You want to place a fraud alert on your account. This way, if somebody opens up anything in your name or they try to, there's an alert, which is going to be a password. You're going to put a freeze on your account, which is going to then notify the person who's pulling your credit there is a fraud alert, and make sure that the person who is applying for whatever it is really that person. Review your credit report and note fraudulent accounts. And it really may have nothing to do with identity theft. I've seen family members' information transposed onto a credit report. Most of the time it's a senior or junior. So if there's a Thomas Jones Senior, Thomas Jones Jr., senior may have some information on junior's report. And it's just good to review your credit report to make sure that information is accurate. If your report is not accurate due to a fraud or due to a human error, it could cost you financially. You may qualify for a 3% interest rate on a loan, but there's a fraud on your report, which is bringing your score down, only because somebody hasn't reviewed the report to make sure it's accurate. So review your credit report, make sure it's accurate. If it's not accurate, then you want to contact the bureaus to get that information corrected. This way, you could either get the relationship that you're looking for or get the right type of relationship, because you don't want to pay more money just because of a fraud or human error on a credit report. Number 3 is contact all the companies fraud occurred. So there's multiple companies. There's 3 different credit bureaus. There's Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. You want to contact those companies to make sure that your report is correct, but also contact the companies that the fraud occurred at. This way they could flag your account and make sure that nothing more occurs going forward, and then you can rectify any fraud that had happened at those companies. And then 4 is create an official identity theft report. You want to have an identity theft report if something was stolen from you. Maybe a police report is going to be required, but make sure that you create an official identity theft report. And I believe I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you, Todd. You've provided us with a lot of great information. So now I would like to encourage anyone who is watching this live to ask Todd any questions they may have. Again, we're going to try to answer as many questions as we can today, or get back to you individually after the webinar is over. If you have a question that will be best answered offline, we will be sure to message you directly. So I'm currently seeing 2 questions. The first one is, how are they getting the Social Security numbers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I showed on the previous slides where these companies have been breached, let's just use Equifax as an example. When Equifax was breached, one of the things that was obtained was Social Security numbers. So when either they're using malware, they're hacking into the company system, firmware, phishing scams, and I don't know if you're familiar with the phishing scam, but you may get a fictitious email that looks like it's coming from a legitimate company. You click a link and they're into that company, and they're able to steal the information from that company. So your Social Security number is out there with multiple companies, and there's a good chance that it's been part of a breach. So from what I've seen, most of the time, your Social Security number has been obtained from a breach from a company that you do business with.
That is good to know. Thank you. And the second question is, how long does it take to get fraud taken off of your credit report?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it really just depends on the severity of your case. And if it's something that is simple, I mean, it could take 30 days. If the fraud is very extensive, it could take years. And really, that's where you need an advocate working on your behalf. And it's really important that you have some sort of resolution expert working for you. Because I've seen different frauds that have taken years, and you have to prove that it wasn't you that did it. And it could have been something that, happened when, as a child identity theft, or something that happened that you weren't aware of years ago that you have a mess to clean up. So it could take as little as 30 days, and it could take as long as years. And it just really depends on the severity of the identity theft case.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. Well, that is all I currently see. So I'll take the next slide, please. Oh, the one before that. Thank you. If you would like to learn more, become a member, or talk to us directly, please feel free to contact us using the information on the screen. We also have some links posted in the comments for if you would like to schedule an appointment or have one of us give you a call. And I'll take the next slide. Thank you so much for tuning into today's webinar. And to some of you, thank you for tuning in throughout the year. We had another unconventional year, but we kept our commitment to building brighter financial futures and bringing useful information to your fingertips. So always remember, Texas Trust Credit Union is here with you every step of the way for all of your financial needs. We will be back with something special in 2022. So follow us on social media to know what that will be about when we make the announcement. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.